Okay, wait and see what happens.
See the comments are coming.
See, yeah, but now your comments are coming out, but he's a City fan, so I'm sure we'll have other City fans. Okay, gentlemen, we are now live. Hopefully we'll have some ladies and gentlemen join us tonight. Last week we had some issue with the video. Right. Could you... Oh, it looks like our people are on. Let's just double check. Okay, last week we had some issues with the video. Van, is the video working fine? Could you please just type in if this is working okay? Avril, maybe you tell me if this is working all right. Oh, Dr. Shugal's here. That's nice. Can anybody tell me if the video is working? Because last week the video didn't work and then a lot of people were unhappy that the video didn't work. Right, hi Avril, Chodesh Tov. Is the video working? I think we just need to hear back from people to see what's going on. Looks like it's working. Yeah. Yes, video is working and Van's given a thumbs up. So thank you very much. Okay. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we're going to be discussing the building of the Mishkan. And anytime you discuss the building of the Mishkan, you will find that there are lots of symbolisms that come up, some which are easier to understand and some which are a little bit more difficult to understand. Obviously, we won't be able to get through all the symbolisms. However, I'd like to speak about some of those things. So let's start with the following. This is before we get to symbolisms. We start the Parasha. This is right in the beginning in chapter 25. You are looking at page 444 in the Art Scroll Chumashim. And it says the following. God says to the Jewish people, take from me a donation, and he tells them exactly what he wants these donations to be. Zahav, Tcheles, V'Agamon, Zahav, Kesem, Choshes, gold, silver, copper, Tcheles, V'Agamon, Talashon, V'Sheish, V'Yizim, different types of materials, etc., etc. And then we get to the end of it. And verse 8 tells you, what are we going to do with this? They shall make for me a sanctuary, and I will dwell amongst them. Final verse of this part, and this is where we're going to get up to. Everything that I've shown you. Exactly how the Mishkan and the Kelim are supposed to look. V'chein tasu, so should you make it. So what does that mean, v'chein tasu, and so should you make it? Of course, so should you make it. I mean, what did I showed it to you. Here, look. Yeah? What is it? It's a Mishkan. Right. Make one. Oh, okay, sure. I mean, of course, that's what you wanted of me. I mean, what else did you want from me? Of course, when God asked them to get all this stuff together and to go ahead and to see and get the materials and show him all the plans, it was because he wanted Moshe Rabbeinu to make the Mishkan. Why is God saying again, V'chein tasu, and so should you do? Yeah? So Rashi tells us the following explanation. Rashi says, V'chein tasu ledoros, this is what you do in future generations. Let's say in future generations you will be missing one of the kelim, or one of them will break. So what you then end up doing is, if you want to build another one of these, or you want to make another kli, what you do is you use the formula given in this week's Sedra of exactly how they're made and the sizes, etc., and that's how you do it. However, there's a problem with that, because if you say that that's what it means, v'chein tasu, this is how you make them. So Ramban says, well, later on we see that Shlomo HaMelech made a bigger Mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash. Here we have the Mishkan, which is the tabernacle. It was movable, etc., etc. This was a mobile Beis HaMikdash. Later on we'll see Shlomo HaMelech built one, and then afterwards in the second temple as well, you built a temple that stood in one place in Jerusalem. It didn't move anywhere, it didn't go anywhere, and that temple, they had a much bigger Mizbeach. So if you're going to tell me if this is how the Mizbech is supposed to be made, v'chein tasu, that Ledoros, Rashi says that you should always make it in this way, it doesn't make sense to say that, because in later generations, they did not build the Mizbech and not build the Mishkan exactly as they built it now. Right? Problem with Rashi. Therefore, Ramban says something else, and I think this is that there is a great lesson in this. And the lesson of v'chein tasu, says Rashi, you know what v'chein tasu means? Says Ramban, v'chein tasu means forwards. get on with it. Yeah? I don't know about you. Have you ever been part of a committee that's trying to organize something? Or you're trying to get something together? So you say, okay, the shul needs whatever it is. And everybody says, so who's going to do it? Well, Shmuley, you're in charge of this, and El, you're in charge of this, and Michael, you're in charge of this, and then you make a WhatsApp group, or you have an email group, and everybody's sending emails to each other. At the moment, we're busy trying to figure out, they're trying to make an event for not this Matzah Shabbos afterwards. It's going to be an event about mental health awareness and about specifically crisis intervention, coming on the back of the terrible tragedy that we suffered last week. And so therefore they want to have an event where this is going to be discussed and where people are going to be able to understand where to go for crisis, etc., etc. But you tried to put this together, Baruch Hashem, all credit to where credit is due. Dr. Sandy Mann has taken this on, and she's really put together a lot of stuff in the last few days. There's been her idea, and she's approached many organizations, and it's going to be hosted by us in the Hilton Suite. Hopefully it'll be big enough they'll be in the Hilton Suite, and there's going to be lots of other community organizations, schools, all sorts of organizations are going to be involved with this, and she's really worked very, very hard to put this together. And she only has 2 weeks to really put it together, which is why everything is coming together rather quickly. But imagine if we said this event's going to be in 6 months. What happens if the event is in 6 months?
You leave it for 6 months.
But you leave it for a while. The first thing you do is you leave it for 3 months. 6 months to the event. Who even needs to think about it? Yeah? There's no point in thinking about it now for 6 months' time. Yeah? The problem is, of course there's a point of thinking about it now for 6 months' time. Because what always happens, I found that this happens often with our education committee, is that we get caught by surprise. Oh God, Pesach's coming. Yeah? You knew Rosh Hashanah time that Pesach was coming. You could have planned Rosh Hashanah what you're doing for Pesach, really. Why? It's not a surprise. Pesach is for sure going to come. As is Shavuot, as is Lag BaOmer, as are the 3 weeks, and the 9 days, and Tisha B'Av, and the next Rosh Hashanah is also coming. You know that. Yet, you always say to yourself, we'll worry about Pesach when Pesach comes. So now it's Chanukah time. No, we'll worry about Pesach when Pesach comes. It's Purim time. Oh, it's a month to Pesach. Now what do we do? Now when you try to scramble and put together something for Pesach, it's going to feel like a scramble. Why? Now you got 4 weeks left to Pesach, and you got to put out the program in 2 weeks' time. You don't put out the program for Pesach 3 days before Pesach, because that's useless. Right? Ian says some people work better on tight deadlines. Definitely people work better on tight deadlines. And that's what I'm saying about this recent thing. This program that we're running is going to work better on a tight deadline. But the point is, get on with it. Because Baruch says if you're going to start having a committee for fundraising, and a committee to figure out who's going to build, and a committee to start with the architecture, and start bringing in everybody to figure out which color scheme you want, and, you'll never get it done. Or if you do get it done, it's going to take years for this Beis HaMikdash to get built. And God says, I don't want this to take years. Get a move on it. Get in there, start building the Beis HaMikdash, and start making this Beis HaMikdash, or this Mishkan, ASAP. Just start. And that's important for many times when this happens, when we just get a little lazy, or we spread ourselves too thin, or we have too many cooks. So too many cooks spoil the broth. Just get going. God says, V'chein tasu, move it. Okay? That's the first idea, which I thought was a very, very interesting idea. Moving on. The next kli, the first kli that's discussed, is the Aron. It's actually interesting. When we speak about it later on, and maybe we'll speak about this next week, or maybe Parshas Vayakel, when they made the Mishkan, what did they do? Which way around did they do it? They made the building first, and then the vessels. Because imagine if I said to you, Michael, are you buying a new house? Yeah, I'm buying a new house. So what do you have already? Well, I bought couches. You're like, whoa. You don't even have the walls of the new house. You can't buy a couch. Can't buy beds without having the house. First you buy a house or a flat or whatever else it is. Then you furnish it. But nobody buys furniture and then tries to find the house that's going to fit the furniture. Says Betzalel, how could we go ahead and how could we build the furniture before we have the structure. So Bezalel started with the structure before he built the kelim. But in the commandment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, but what's the main idea behind it? The main idea behind the Mishkan is not the structure. It's what's inside the structure. As with any house, a house is not about the structure, it's about what goes on inside the structure. The structure is just there to give you some form of, sounds terrible to say this, but structure, right? It gives you a place. I have a kitchen, and I have a dining room, and I have a lounge, and I have a bedroom, and my kids have bedrooms, and we have toilets, and we have a shower. That's all the structure, but that's what's necessary to run a house. But a house is not a bedroom and a bathroom, and it's what goes on in the bedroom. It's what goes on in the bathroom, it's what goes on in the dining room, it goes on everywhere. That the whole house is really what happens inside it. The structure is just incidental to keep everything in. If you move to another house, wouldn't change things drastically. Sometimes people decide they want to move. They've not had mazel here, they're going to move somewhere else. And sometimes it's a good idea, but oftentimes if you have a family that doesn't get on, and they say, we're going to move to London, maybe we'll try our luck in London. If you can't get on in Manchester, why do you think if you move to London, suddenly you'll be able to get on? The house doesn't change who you are. It's not going to change the dynamics, the communication skills, whatever. If you feel you don't have enough employment opportunities, whatever it might be, in the place where you're living and you're moving somewhere else, okay, understandable. I can't make money here in Manchester, it just doesn't work. I've got a job in London waiting for me, I'll move to London. No, that's not me, I'm just mentioning that, right? So then I can understand that somebody says, I'll move to London. But if you want to move to London, you say, I'm going to move somewhere else and maybe I'll have different luck. Things will work differently for me. If there are inherent problems, going somewhere else just means you change the structure of your house, but you've not changed what's going on inside the house. So the same quabbles and the same ribbles and the same family issues will exist no matter where you take them. They just come along with you. So the house is just the structure. It's what's inside is the most important. And that's our HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts with what's inside. And what do we start with first? The first thing that we start with is the Aron. And the Aron is the center of everything. And the Kli Yakar speaks that out, and he says, to understand and to know, the first thing that you'll consider in the entire thing is the Torah. And you only work from there. There's many times when people decide where they want to live. What should be your approach? Where do I want to live? So the approach of Torah Jews is, where can I live as a Torah Jew? There are many places. There's London, there's Manchester, there's Gateshead, there's even outlying towns also that have Leeds, has shuls and kolim, etc., etc. Certain communities are starting to shrink already. You'll have a much harder time living there as a Jew. You can go to Israel, you can go to Europe, you can go to America, you can go to South Africa, you can go to Australia. There's many places you can live as a Jew, as a religious Jew. But a religious Jew will always look for that infrastructure first and say to himself, as a religious Jew, where do I want to live? Your first answer is not going to be Coventry, right? Not because there's anything wrong with Coventry, but what Judaism will I find in Coventry? Yeah, where will I get in Staffordshire? Where will I get in Stoke-on-Trent? Move to Stoke-on-Trent. What are you going to find in Stoke-on-Trent Jewish-wise? It might be a great place to live, but not for a Jew. You'll need a shul, and you need a mikveh, and you need a place, you need a minyan, and you need kosher food. All that you're not going to find in some kind of hole in the wall. So first thing that you think of is Torah. That has to be utmost on your mind. And beyond that, it's not only that. I find even when you look at certain places and you say to yourself, what are the opportunities for my children in this place? Is there one school? And I'm going to have to send my children to that one school, whether it fits the mold or it doesn't? Or do I have a choice? I can choose where I want to send my kids. Where does it make most sense? And sometimes, even in a place with a lot of schools, you won't have that mold. But at least you'll have a choice. You say, does this fit or it doesn't fit? Could be that there's only one school, but it fits the mold anyway, and then it doesn't matter. But people choose where they live based on their belief system. The belief system dictates to them where they're going to live. The belief system dictates to them what kind of house they're going to buy, in what kind of area. So even if I live in Manchester, but where am I going to live? Am I going to live in Moss Side? Am I going to live in Fallowfield? Am I going to live in Moston? Am I going to live in Prestonshire or Broughton Park? Or Whitefield? Or even South Manchester you can live in, right? All these places have communities. So you say, well, I live in Manchester, I'm only 15 minutes away from the nearest Jewish community. Yeah, but 15 minutes is a far way to go. When you live in Moston or you live in Blakely, and every time you want to go daven, you have to drive 10 minutes, and every time you want to walk to shul, it's an hour to walk to shul, it's still no good. You say, but I'm not stuck somewhere in Ala Schwarze Yar, and I'm not in Coventry, right? True. But still not great. You look at all these things, and the Torah starts off with the Aron specifically to tell me the first thing that you think of in building a house, and the first thing that we think of when we look at the Mishkan, and we look and try to understand what is going on over there, the first thing that we look at is the Torah, and see how does it work with our belief system. My choice of place I'm going to live. Will I be able to live there as a religious Jew? Will I have the facilities necessary as a Jew? For example, now you have this whole story with Belgium and Shechita. It's a scary thing. Because now you're in 2 provinces out of 3. In Belgium, you can't ritually slaughter an animal. So that puts things into discussion, because people say, well, if I can't have kosher meat, what am I going to do? How are you going to live? Or if Mila, there was an attack on Mila, if Mila got outlawed or banned because of genital mutilation, people would seriously consider moving. They say, I'm going to raise my children in a place where I have to travel to Europe to give them a bris, come back and get into trouble from the authorities every time I have a boy, and get into trouble for genital mutilation. Forget it, there's not a place for a Jew. All these things are important factors in understanding and determining what you build as a home, what you build as a house, how you go about building it. And only when all that fits into place, then you can start looking at the Mishkan. And that's why we start with the Aron, because the Aron is where the Torah was housed. And that is the center of everything. Torah must be at the center of our lives. And everything else gets figured out around that. Not that the Torah needs to play second fiddle to all my other whims and all the other things that I want to think of. Okay? Now this Aron had many different bits and pieces and ornaments. And one of the ornaments that the Aron had is the following. Where is it? It's further back. Verse 11. V'tzipisa says after, you should cover it in gold. On the outside and the inside it was made out of gold, and in the middle was made out of wood. V'asisa olav, that's verse 11, so that's the next page, 446. V'asisa olav, and you will make on it zer zav saviv, a golden crown. So if you look on page 447 in the art scroll, you'll see a picture of it, an artist's rendition of it, and you'll see on top of the box, do you see that looks like a crown? Looks a little bit like the Belz Beis Medrash. Just kidding. Do you know how the Belz Beis Medrash looks like that? A is a crown, but B, because the Belz Beis Medrash in Europe had that ornamental thing. So that's why when they rebuilt in Yerushalayim, they built that ornamental thing on top of it as well. But you have that crown. And Rav Hirsch says a beautiful idea. He says, the word zer means crown. Which other Hebrew word is made up of those 2 letters? Not Roz, by the way. Roz could mean a secret. Which other word?
Say Roz Shabbos.
Yeah, Roz Shabbos means the secret of Shabbos. Zar. Ve'azar hakarev yumas. What is a zar?
Stranger.
A stranger. And therefore, the idea behind this crown, and it's always interesting to note sometimes or often the ideas that are being espoused by certain Rabbonim have to do with what was going on in those days, politically speaking. So you read about the Malbim in Megillas Esther speaks about women's lib, and that the women in Shushan were trying to liberate themselves, and Achashverosh was trying to batter them down. So that's why after killing Vashti, what was the commandment that he gave? Lios kolish sorer bevesu adabi kishan amo. The man's in charge. The women don't deserve to be in charge. Only the men deserve to be in charge. That was the edict of Achashverosh. So here also, Rav Hirsch speaks about his time. What was rife in his time? What was he the big opponent of? And what did he constantly fight? Reform. Absolutely. That was in the 1800s, and reform was out there, and Rav Hirsch was there to defend Judaism from the reform. And we've spoken about this a few times. I think we've mentioned this plenty of times, and we don't have to go through it again. Yeah, Shmuley, we have mentioned this, no?
Yeah.
Yeah? Michael, do you remember when we spoke about that? So Rav Hirsch was the leader of religious German Jewry, and he says the following: the Zer, the crown, is there to keep out the Zar, which is what? The strange. Now, I don't mean strange as in weird, but the strange as in ideas and ideals that are not compatible with Torah. And it's very, very hard. It's hard to do that, and it's hard to live that way, specifically in a modern society, because you get all sorts of ideas, and some fit and some don't. But the crown is there. It's not just the crown of Torah, but it also symbolizes, and that's why it's on top. It's almost there to keep out. It looks like thorns that are sticking out. As you're trying to get in there, there's something there stopping you from getting in. And it's important to note, by the way, the idea of keeping out foreign things and foreign ideas, what we mean with that. What we mean with that is not necessarily that we cannot find new ways to spread Torah or new ways to understand Torah. That's not what it means. So for example, this shir that is being screened not only in this room, well, it's not being screened in this room, it's actually live in this room, but there are people in Eretz Yisrael, there are people around Manchester that are showing up here. I get notes exactly who's come, and it tells me who's watching and how many people are watching. And when I did it in Vienna, we had lots of people in Vienna watching. When I did it at my father's house, I gave his shir, and so I did a live shir. He'd never done it before. I did a live shir. We got tons of people. It was a novelty. Nobody had ever done it before. These things, these novel ideas, are good ideas. They're ideas that are not, you say, that's zar, that is strange, that is foreign. It's not foreign. The idea is give a shir and allow the shir to make its way to other people. Because if people aren't coming here, you can find a way of getting there. And it's called Facebook and a little phone or a little computer, and voila, you've done it. So you say, well, that's new. They didn't used to do that 50 years ago. That's true. They might not have done that 50 years ago. But there's nothing, even though it's a new idea, it's not antithetical to what we believe in as far as Torah is concerned. It's very much in line with Torah. You know, the pioneers of using technology for good were Lubavitch. Lubavitch were amazing at that. They were the first ones to cordon on to lots of things way before anybody else figured this out. So Lubavitch, they used to have videos of the Rebbe, and they used to send them out to all the different shluchim and to all kinds of different localities. And I remember you could watch them. They would watch them on Motzei Shabbos. They would take out in Lubavitch 62, where my father-in-law used to daven. They used to take out, there was a big television. He used to take it out, and he used to put in a video, and they used to watch the Rebbe for 10 minutes. But that kind of idea in an era where nobody else was sending around videos, Lubavitch said, how are we going to be able to take our Rebbe and to allow us to bottle that encouragement and that inspiration and to send it all the way around the world? Well, guess what? There are machines called videos, but nobody uses anymore nowadays. But at the time, everybody used it. If that was the way you would do it, you would send a video. So they took videos of the Rebbe, and then they sent them around the world to different people, and the people will be able to be inspired by their leader in watching those things. That's brilliant. Why not? Yeah? Pardon?
There's no chance of getting to actually see them.
Not everybody can go down there. You can't always go down, but what you can do is you can send the video over. And that's not what we mean with zer. That's not. Or you find modern ways to teach. I know not every school does this, but I know in certain schools, in King David and in Broughton Jewish, for example, they use modern technology to help them teach. So kids have homework, they're sent to them, and they get it, or the parents get it, they can get it on a tablet, or they get it on a computer, and the kids do the homework, and the parents know that the kids have done the homework because they'll get an email telling them exactly what homework the kids have, and the kids will be able to do the homework, and the teacher can see on his or her mobile phone who's done the homework, who's doing how well at doing the homework, what homework they're doing, what needs fixing, who needs more help, and who seems to know the material really well. Or you can show them on screens. You can show them trigger videos. You can do PowerPoint presentations with them. You can take the Torah and you can make it more exciting for kids who are used to watching a screen all day long. Nowadays, kids are used to watching screens. They're not used to reading books. And you sit them down and you go, here's a book, here's a Gemara, let's start reading it together. That's boring. For a lot of kids, that's boring. Can I say, we will not change? And some say, no, what do you mean we will not change? How are we going to reach the people? How are we going to reach our young children? We have to find another way to get them to do this. Okay? But that's not what we're calling foreign or strange. When I talk about foreign or strange, I mean something very different. There are ideas that creep in where we, in modern society, get to hear certain things from general society, and you hear them once, and you hear them twice, and you hear them a third time, and the more often you hear them, the more they creep into our consciousness, and the more we start to worry about those things. Rabbi, that's unethical. That's not how we do things. We have to accept everybody. Okay, maybe, right? But we've become a people in general, and the world has become that you have to accept everybody. You have to accept. This is who I am. You have to accept me. You know what? I don't have to accept your life choice. I don't have to agree with it. This is your choice, it's your choice. But why do I have to agree with your choice? It's become almost like I have the right to do whatever I want to, and you don't have the right to judge me, and you don't have the right to disagree with me, and you have no right to talk about me whatsoever. I'm right and you're right. And everybody's right. And everybody has a right to do whatever they want to. You might have a right to do whatever you want to, but it doesn't make it right. And God will say, look, we'll see what happens. After 120, we'll have the conversation. It might not be such a comfortable conversation to be had, but we'll have the conversation. No, but God, are you not going to accept me the way I am? I guess not. And maybe it's not for me to judge. So maybe we shouldn't be judgmental. And I'm not saying we should be judgmental. On the other hand, it's become almost like you have to accept everyone and everything and every type of lifestyle and everything that everybody does. And the only people that we cannot accept, by the way, who are the only people who cannot accept? People on the right wing. Right? Too right wing. They're not okay. And I find, and you look at liberals, liberal people are also quite bigoted. They're just bigoted against anybody who's not as liberal as they are. They're just as bigoted. So as you say, the people on the right are very, very bigoted about liberal people. You're all right. The people on the left are very, very bigoted about the people on the right. It's the same thing. There's this witch hunt after Trump, with the entire media They're just waiting. They're desperate to bring him down. They cannot believe that they were wrong and that the establishment got beaten by a whole bunch of hillybillies or rednecks all around the United States. But the United States says we've had enough. What do you think? Just because you live in California or New York, you get to dictate what the entire United States has to say? Not necessarily. We're also people. We also have what to say. And so it became like a whole fight. But the czar, the strange thing, the wrong things that have crept into us as a society are the fact that we're taking on things from the outside, and now the things from the outside become almost now I have to defend myself. It used to be that people were ashamed of marrying out. We've gotten to the point where people say to me, Rabbi, it's wrong not to attend an intermarriage. It's wrong. They're telling me as a rabbi, it's wrong not to go. Yeah, it's wrong. They're not telling me I must go. But they say it's wrong not to go. They're our family. We have to go and celebrate with them. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. To watch a Jewish person marrying out is a tragedy. And you're going to watch a tragedy. Yeah, but they're happy.
I've heard of that.
So?
As long as they're happy, you hear.
Yeah, you hear again, as long as they're happy. Where's that as long as they're happy come from, by the way?
I don't know.
No, that is what the media has again and again told people. As long as they're happy. As long as they're happy. You know what? People get married and they could work hard on their marriage and they can make it work. And sometimes they say, I'm not happy in my marriage. Yeah, you know what? You didn't invest in your marriage to make yourself happy. You didn't try hard enough. Well, I'm not happy. Goodbye, I'm out. Look for somebody else. Maybe somebody else will make me happy.
It's not in the American Constitution the right to be happy.
Nope. No. Pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness.
It's a pursuit of happiness, and that's what people say. You have a right to pursue happiness. We can't guarantee people being happy. We allow you to pursue happiness as much as you want. But happiness has become almost like, as long as they're happy. Just because you're happy, if I said to somebody, I've started snorting cocaine and it makes me so happy. And people say to me, Rabbi, whatever you want, as long as you're happy. You'd say they're crazy, right? Yeah. No, but it makes me happy. So, did that make it right? Just because it makes me happy? Yeah. Not that I've ever touched this stuff, but I'm just saying,
What about your family and your job, yeah.
Pardon?
What about your family and your job?
Well, whatever, it makes me happy. Suddenly you say whatever makes you happy. I'm not saying people should be unhappy. Yeah. But you can be happy, you can be happy. There's a book, we have it in Shulash, it's called Head to Heart. And the idea of being happy and that you can create great relationships with many, many different kinds of people. And if you choose your partner as a non-Jewish partner and start with them and then create a relationship with them over years, yeah, you'll be happy with that partner. You will be. I'm not saying you won't be happy with that partner. You could be happy with a non-Jewish partner. But the problem is that you made the choice and then you became happy afterwards. And everyone says, as long as that, but that's from the outside. Hollywood has sold us this idea that people need to be happy and we need to celebrate everybody's happiness. Not everybody's happiness needs to be celebrated. Some things are wrong and we shouldn't celebrate them. But that's the zer. That's the czar. That's the things that are coming from the outside and they're making their way into us. And we need to realize that we need to create a certain amount of vacuum in our camp where we say there are certain things that don't belong in a Torah world. You struggle? I understand that. Everybody struggles. I'm not saying nobody struggles. So some people will struggle with Shabbos, and some people will struggle with kashrus, and some people will struggle with their sexuality, and there'll be people who struggle with all sorts of things. And that's okay. That's normal. But you say, okay, it's my struggle. Not I want to be happy and you have to accept me. That's a different thing. And those struggles that we have, and the idea that it comes with, that we have to try to keep out, at one point or another we have to say, this is not Jewish, this doesn't belong in our world. And we have to be careful with that. Okay, let's see. One more idea. When we speak about this zer, when we speak about this last thing, we'll speak about this tonight, this crown. There are 3 articles in the Mishkan that had a crown on them. The first one was this Aron that we just spoke about, that had the Torah inside. Then you have the Shulchan, which was a special table, which you'll find on page 449. If you look at it on page 449 in the Art Scroll Chumashim, just turn one page, you'll see it in a minute. You'll find it's got a crown. Where is it? Can you see it here?
Yeah. Right hand side. Right hand side.
There you go, crown. There you go. Right. It's there, right? And the last thing was the Mizbach Hazov, the golden altar, which is at the end of Pashas Tetzaveh. You will find it. Sorry, let me just borrow this. On page 482. Page 482, you'll find it as well. Do you see over here the crown? Yeah. You got three things that have crowns. And those three things that have crowns represent the three crowns that exist. Shlosha Kesarim Heim, if you remember from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says there are three crowns. Keser Torah, what's that? The crown of Torah. Keser Kehuna, the crown of priesthood. The Keser Malchus, and the crown of kingdom. The Keser Shem Tov Ola Agabeim, and there's another crown, the crown of a good name that supersedes all of them. We're not going to discuss that fourth crown tonight. We'll discuss those three crowns. So three crowns that you had again is the Torah crown, you have the crown of priesthood, and you have the crown of royalty. Those three crowns. Now, in each one of these psukim, you'll find it mentioned. One says, "Ve'asiso," by the Aron, chapter 25, verse 11, it says, "Ve'asiso olav zerzav saviv." You should make on it a golden crown. That was page 446. Right? Now, let's say here, in chapter 25, when we get to the Shulchan, it's verse 25, so that's page 448. You will find, as it says, let's see as he translates it here, you should make for it a molding, one hat-breadth all around, and you shall make a gold crown on the molding all around. V'asisa zer zahav lemiskarto saviv. V'asisa lo, you should make for it. And now, the last one that we have is at the end of Parshas Tetzaveh, which we said page 484.
42.
Was it 482? Sorry, 482, my mistake. So on page 482, it tells us about the zer, about the crown that it has. Verse 3, you should cover it in gold. Es gagov, es kirosov, es karnosov, the top, the sides, and the corners. Ve'osisa lo zerzav, and you should make for it a golden crown. Right? Again, so we speak about a crown. However, the Kli Yakar points out, and he says that by the Shulchan and by the Mizbeach, it says lo, to it, you should make for it a crown, whereas by the Aron Kodesh it says olav, you should make on it. So what's the difference between make for it or make on it? So explains the Kli Yakar the following idea. He says when it comes to the crown of royalty, who gets the crown of royalty in general? The royals. Yeah. There's no like buy-in. At no point do I say it's a closed shop. At no point can I buy into that and say, "Oh, I'd like to be part of the royals." Okay, so, well, I got £1 million. No, I got 10 million. I got 100 million. I got £1 billion. You can't buy in to become a royal. There's no buy-in over there, right? When it comes to kahuna, when it comes to priesthood, is there a buy-in for priesthood? No, you can't buy in. Either you're a Kohen or not a Kohen. We're not going to discuss the old joke about buying. My father was a Kohen, my grandfather was a Kohen, and I bought it. I also want to become a Kohen, right? You know that doesn't work. Yeah? There's no buy-in to become a Kohen, and there's no buy-in to become a royal. And that's why it says lo over there. To it. If you're part of it, you'll have it. If you're not part of it, you won't have it. The only one where there's no buy-in whatsoever, where the door is open and it's available to anyone, is Torah. You want to learn Torah? You want to have a connection to Torah? Fine. Do you know what it takes? Work, learning, and a solid behind, as I say. Yeah? If you're able to sit, and you're able to learn, and you're able to work, and nowadays with all the English svarim available, you don't even have to be that fluent in Hebrew or Aramaic. We have Mishnah over there, we have Chumash over here, we have Gemara over here, we have Rashi. We got so many different things. If you're just willing to sit down and learn it. But is there a buy-in for Torah? Yeah, the buy-in is you sit down and you learn the thing. But if you learn it, can you gain the crown of Torah? Yeah, you can gain the crown of Torah. As can anybody else. The crown of Torah is available to anyone and to everyone. And therefore, says Kli Yakar, there's a big difference between the way we mention the crowns of the first two items that I mentioned and the crown of the Aron. The crown of the Kehuna, which is the crown of the Mizbeach HaKetores, Osisa Lo, you make for it. Why? Kehuna is a closed club. I cannot become a Kohen. I wasn't born a Kohen. I will not be a Kohen in my lifetime, and I'll probably die not being a Kohen. That's just how it's going to be. Royalty, the Shulchan, I wasn't born that way. I'll probably die not being a royal. And I think I can manage that as well. I don't think that's an issue. Torah is a different discussion. Torah I can buy into. Torah I can get a part in. If I want to, I can have a part in Torah. If I want to, I can make it mine. If I want to, I can be part of that club. It's not an exclusive club. It's not closed. It's open, and God beckons every person. He says, come, join, enter. Become part of my Torah. Don't just say, oh, Torah is only for the scholars. It's only for the people in Broughton Park. What do you mean Torah is only for the people in Broughton Park? Torah is for the people of Pretzers. Torah is for the people in our community. Don't have to have gone to Kollel to be able to say Torah is yours. You don't have to daven with a hat to say Torah is yours. It can be anybody's. You just have to be willing to buy into it. You have to be willing to say, I'm willing to work for it. I want it, and I want it enough. And then God says, you want it enough, I can give it to you. And you can have it. That crown is available to all. So that's the ideas that we wanted to mention tonight. Thank you very much, everybody who joined us in person. Thank you for coming. Thank you to all of you who joined us now on this video. Please, if you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends so that we can get out as much as we can. Hopefully it will be posted up to YouTube soon as well. Thank you and have a good night.